Most men fear being misunderstood more than being weak. They rush to clarify, they over-explain, they correct perceptions immediately. Because somewhere early in life they learned a dangerous equation. If people misunderstand me, I lose safety. So they spend their lives managing perception instead of building strength. Powerful men do the opposite. They do not panic when misunderstood. They do not chase clarity. They do not correct every false assumption. Because they understand something most men never realize. Being misunderstood is not a threat. It is leverage. When people misunderstand you, they reveal themselves. They project their fears. They expose their expectations. They show you the lens through which they see the world. And while they are busy interpreting you, you are free to observe them. Weak men need to be understood because their identity depends on approval. Strong men are understood, eventually, if it's useful, and ignored otherwise. This is why men with real authority rarely explain themselves emotionally. They let actions speak late. They let silence work early. They allow ambiguity to exist. Ambiguity creates distance. Distance creates caution. Caution creates respect. The moment you rush to be understood, you step down into negotiation. You are no longer acting, you are defending. And defense is always a lower position than certainty. Powerful men accept misunderstanding because they are anchored internally. They know who they are. They know where they are going. They don't need the crowd to agree for reality to move. Misunderstanding becomes a filter. The impatient reveal themselves. The insecure expose themselves. The manipulators show their hand. And the men who can sit inside misunderstanding without flinching are the same men others eventually orbit. Because human beings adapt to strength, not explanation. In the next part, you'll see why the need to be understood is rooted in insecurity, and how letting go of it immediately changes how people treat you. The psychological need to be understood. The need to be understood does not come from clarity. It comes from insecurity. Most men believe they want understanding because they value truth. In reality, they want it because they fear judgment. Being misunderstood feels dangerous to them because it threatens their self-image. If someone sees them incorrectly, they panic. They rush to fix the narrative. This reaction is not rational. It is biological. From early life, men are conditioned to seek safety through acceptance. Parents reward explanation. Teachers reward compliance. Peers reward conformity. So the nervous system learns a pattern. Explain yourself or lose belonging. That pattern never leaves. It follows men into adulthood, into relationships, into workplaces, into power dynamics. The moment someone questions them, their body reacts. Heart rate increases, voice changes, thoughts scatter. They explain, not to clarify facts, but to relieve internal discomfort. And this is the critical mistake. Because the person listening doesn't hear information first. They sense need. Need collapses authority. The man who needs to be understood has handed control outward. His emotional state now depends on another person's perception. Powerful men do not do this. They are internally referenced. Their sense of self does not shift based on opinion. They do not repair every misunderstanding because their identity is stable. They understand something subtle. Not everyone needs access to your internal world. When you stop explaining automatically, something changes. people pause. They recalibrate. They become more careful. Because now they are uncertain, not you. And uncertainty always flows upward. The need to be understood keeps men small. Comfortable being misunderstood expands their presence. In the next part, you'll learn how misunderstanding exposes other people's motives and why silence turns projection into information. How misunderstanding exposes other people. When you allow yourself to be misunderstood, something revealing happens. Other people start talking. They fill the silence you refused to fill. They explain your intentions for you. They assign motives, meanings, and narratives. And in doing so, they expose themselves. This is why powerful men do not rush to correct false assumptions. They understand that projection is information. When someone misunderstands you and reacts emotionally, you learn what they fear, what they expect, what they are insecure about. A man who gets angry at your silence is uncomfortable without control. A man who mocks you needs validation. A man who pressures you to clarify wants leverage. Misunderstanding acts like a psychological mirror. It shows you how others relate to authority, uncertainty, and ambiguity. Men who need to be understood shut this mirror down. They rush to explain and lose access to data. Powerful men stay quiet and watch. They let others reveal their tolerance for tension, their patience, their respect for boundaries. This is especially visible in relationships and negotiations. When you don't explain yourself immediately, weaker personalities escalate. They push, they provoke, they test. Strong personalities adjust. They slow down, they listen, they recalibrate their approach. This tells you everything you need to know. Misunderstanding filters people. Those who cannot sit with ambiguity disqualify themselves. Those who can remain composed earn proximity. This is why silence feels heavy. It forces others to carry their own assumptions, and most people are uncomfortable holding that weight. In the next part, you'll see why explaining yourself too quickly collapses your position, and how powerful men use delayed clarity to control interactions. Too early collapses your position. Timing is everything in power dynamics. Most men explain themselves too early. The moment they sense confusion, disagreement, or misinterpretation, they rush to clarify. They think speed equals maturity. They think immediate explanation prevents conflict. It does the opposite. Explaining too early removes tension, and tension is where power lives. Before anyone accepts your explanation, their nervous system first evaluates your position. Are you calm or reactive? Grounded or defensive? Certain or seeking approval? Early explanation answers that question poorly. It signals that you are uncomfortable with uncertainty, that you need the interaction to stabilize, that you are more invested in being understood than being respected. Powerful men delay explanation deliberately. They allow confusion to exist. They let assumptions surface. They let the emotional temperature reveal itself. Because clarity given too soon benefits the listener. Clarity given later benefits the speaker. When you delay explanation, several things happen. The other person reveals their intent. They expose whether they are curious or controlling. They show whether they respect your autonomy or seek dominance. If they pressure you to explain, they want leverage. If they wait, they respect your frame. Powerful men never explain to relieve tension. They explain only when explanation serves their objective. This is not manipulation. It is discipline. You are not responsible for stabilizing other people's discomfort. When you stop rushing to be understood, the interaction reorganizes itself around you. People slow down. They choose their words more carefully. They reassess their assumptions. Because now you are not reacting to the moment. The moment is reacting to you. In the next part, you'll learn how powerful men use ambiguity intentionally, not to confuse, but to command space and authority. Why explaining too early collapses your position. Timing is everything in power dynamics. Most men explain themselves too early. The moment they sense confusion, disagreement, or misinterpretation, they rush to clarify. They think speed equals maturity. They think immediate explanation prevents conflict. It does the opposite. Explaining too early removes tension, and tension is where power lives. Before anyone accepts your explanation, their nervous system first evaluates your position. Are you calm or reactive? Grounded or defensive? Certain or seeking approval? Early explanation answers that question poorly. It signals that you are uncomfortable with uncertainty, that you need the interaction to stabilize, that you are more invested in being understood than being respected. Powerful men delay explanation deliberately. They allow confusion to exist. They let assumptions surface. They let the emotional temperature reveal itself. Because clarity given too soon benefits the listener. Clarity given later benefits the speaker. When you delay explanation, several things happen. The other person reveals their intent. They expose whether they are curious or controlling. They show whether they respect your autonomy or seek dominance. If they pressure you to explain, they want leverage. If they wait, they respect your frame. Powerful men never explain to relieve tension. They explain only when explanation serves their objective. This is not manipulation. It is discipline. You are not responsible for stabilizing other people's discomfort. When you stop rushing to be understood, the interaction reorganizes itself around you. People slow down. They choose their words more carefully. They reassess their assumptions. Because now you are not reacting to the moment. The moment is reacting to you. In the next part, you'll learn how powerful men use ambiguity intentionally, not to confuse, but to command space and authority. Why action, not explanation, corrects misunderstanding. Powerful men do not rush to fix misunderstanding with words. They let time and action do it for them. This is one of the hardest disciplines to develop because it goes directly against emotional instinct. When someone misunderstands you, the urge to speak is strong. You want to clarify, you want to defend, you want to regain control of the narrative. But here is the reality most men never accept. Words are cheap in power dynamics. Actions are irreversible. Anyone can talk. Anyone can explain. Anyone can promise intention. Only action carries weight. This is why powerful men are patient with being misunderstood. They know that premature explanation weakens future impact. They understand that when actions arrive later, they arrive with authority. Think about how respect actually forms, not through speeches, not through emotional transparency, not through justification. Respect forms when behavior remains consistent under pressure. When a man does not panic when misjudged, when he does not adjust his behavior to chase approval, when he continues moving forward regardless of interpretation. That consistency forces recalibration. People eventually think, maybe I misread him. Maybe there's more going on here. Maybe I spoke too soon. And when that moment comes, the correction sticks, because it was earned, not argued. Men who rely on explanation correct misunderstanding temporarily. Men who rely on action correct it permanently. This is why powerful men are slow to speak, but decisive to move. They allow others to doubt. They allow rumors to exist. They allow false narratives to circulate, because they know something simple. Reality catches up. When outcomes arrive, explanations become unnecessary, and the people who misunderstood you are left with two options: adjust their perception or reveal their bias. Either way, you win. In the next part, you'll understand why being comfortable with misunderstanding filters weak-minded people from your life, and why powerful men are rarely surrounded by crowds. Misunderstanding as a filter for weak minds. When you stop explaining yourself, something important happens. Weak people leave. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. They grow uncomfortable. They grow suspicious. They feel unsettled around you. Why? Because weak-minded people rely on constant emotional feedback to feel safe. They need reassurance. They need clarification. They need validation. They need to know exactly where they stand at all times. When you refuse to explain yourself, you deny them that comfort. And without comfort, their anxiety surfaces. They start asking more questions. They start probing. They start gossiping. They start projecting motives onto you. This is not a flaw in your strategy. This is the strategy working. Powerful men understand that not everyone deserves access to their inner world. Misunderstanding acts as a natural filter. Those who are secure, intelligent, and self-directed do not panic when they don't fully understand you. They observe. They wait. They judge based on long-term behavior. Those who are insecure cannot tolerate ambiguity. They need certainty immediately, and when they don't get it, they become hostile or needy. By remaining comfortable with being misunderstood, you separate these two groups effortlessly. You don't need to confront anyone. You don't need to explain your standards. You don't need to announce boundaries. Your silence does it for you. Over time, you'll notice a pattern. The people who stay are calmer, more capable, less reactive, more respectful. The people who leave were never allies. They were dependents. This is why powerful men often have smaller circles, not because they are antisocial, but because they are selective by nature. They let misunderstanding do the work of elimination, and what remains is something rare. Relationships built on respect, not reassurance. In the next part, you'll see why trying to be relatable actually destroys authority, and how powerful men avoid that trap entirely. Why relatability destroys authority. Modern culture tells men that to be liked, they must be relatable. Share your struggles, explain your emotions, show vulnerability constantly. Make sure everyone understands you. This advice sounds humane. In power dynamics, it is disastrous. Relatability lowers perceived altitude. The moment you try to make everyone feel comfortable around you, you subconsciously place yourself on their level or below it. You trade authority for acceptance. Powerful men understand a hard truth. Authority creates distance. Distance creates gravity. Relatable men chase connection. Authoritative men attract alignment. When you over-explain your feelings, your doubts, your inner conflicts, you dissolve the mystery that sustains respect. You become easy to read, easy to predict, easy to manage. This doesn't make people closer to you. It makes them less careful around you. Think about how people behave around figures they respect. They measure their words. They think before acting. They hesitate before crossing lines. Now, compare that to how people behave around men who are open books. They interrupt. They challenge. They overshare. They push boundaries casually. Relatability invites familiarity. Familiarity breeds contempt. This is why powerful men are selective with vulnerability. They do not broadcast it. They deploy it strategically. They understand that not all transparency is honesty. Some of it is insecurity disguised as virtue. When a man constantly seeks to be understood, he signals that misunderstanding threatens him. That signal is read instantly. Others sense that his self-worth depends on perception, and once perception becomes leverage, respect erodes. Powerful men avoid this trap by anchoring their identity internally. They don't need to be seen correctly. They need to be effective. They don't correct every false assumption. They don't smooth every rough edge. They don't adjust their behavior to fit emotional expectations. They let results speak. And over time, something interesting happens. The same people who once felt close to them now feel cautious. The same people who once felt equal now feel oriented around them. Not because the powerful man demanded it, but because authority emerged naturally when relatability disappeared. In the next part, you'll understand why silence combined with consistency creates an aura that cannot be challenged, and why very few men can maintain it long enough to benefit from it. Silence plus consistency creates unquestionable power. Silence alone is not power. Consistency alone is not power. But when silence is paired with consistency, authority becomes inevitable. This is where most men fail. They attempt silence for a short period, but the moment pressure increases, they break. They explain. They justify. They emotionally leak. Their silence collapses, and with it, the illusion of strength. Powerful men understand that silence only works when it is stable over time. Anyone can be quiet once. Few can remain quiet consistently. When your behavior stays the same regardless of praise, criticism, misunderstanding, gossip, pressure, people begin to orient themselves around you. They stop testing. They stop probing. They stop pushing boundaries. Why? Because the human mind is pattern-based. When people cannot detect emotional fluctuation, they stop attempting control. There is nothing to hook into, no leverage point, no predictable reaction. This creates a psychological wall. Behind that wall, you are free. Free to think, free to act, free to decide without noise. Consistency also does something else. It exposes others. The people who thrive around you are those who respect structure. The people who struggle are those who rely on chaos, manipulation, or emotional influence. Silence removes their tools. That's why silence feels threatening to unstable people. It takes away their advantage. Over time, your presence becomes heavier without you doing anything dramatic. You speak less. You react less. You explain less. Yet people listen more. Because authority is not created by volume, it is created by predictability of principle. They know where you stand, even if they don't know what you think. And that is the highest form of power. To be understood in behavior, not in words. In the final part, we'll confront the last fear men have about this path, the fear of isolation, and why that fear is exaggerated, misunderstood, and ultimately false. Why this path does not lead to isolation. It leads to sovereignty. The final fear most men have when they stop explaining themselves is simple. I'll end up alone. This fear is powerful because it is social, primal, and deeply conditioned. From childhood, men are taught that connection comes from emotional availability, constant explanation, and being understood at all times. But this belief confuses attachment with alignment. Powerful men are not isolated. They are unentangled. There is a difference. When you stop explaining yourself, you do lose people, but you do not lose value. You lose dependency-based relationships. The ones who disappear are those who needed access to your emotions to feel secure, those who relied on your reassurance, those who used your transparency to anchor themselves. What remains are people who can stand on their own, and those relationships are quieter, cleaner, stronger. You stop being surrounded by noise and start being surrounded by respect. Powerful men are not lonely because they are misunderstood. They are selective because they understand themselves. They do not need crowds to validate direction. They do not need constant feedback to confirm worth. They do not need approval. Act. This internal sovereignty changes everything. When you are comfortable being misunderstood, you speak only when it matters. You act without announcing. You let outcomes correct narratives. You let time expose truth. People stop interacting with you emotionally and start interacting with you strategically. They listen more. They measure more. They respect more. Not because you demanded authority, but because you stopped leaking it. This is the final transformation. You move from reacting to directing, from explaining to embodying, from defending to deciding. And once that shift happens, you realize something profound. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be unmovable. That is why powerful men are comfortable being misunderstood. Because clarity is not safety. Self-possession is.